Buckle up as we dive into the high-octane world of Formula One, where speed, skill, and split-second decisions collide in jaw-dropping fashion. From the golden era of racing legends to the modern-day daredevils, we'll revisit the most iconic moments and unforgettable incidents that have left fans around the world in awe. So, rev up your engines and let's embark on this action-packed adventure together. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, because you won't want to miss a single second of this breathtaking F1 spectacle. Safety is of paramount importance in Formula One, both on the track and within the F1 arena or paddock area. But this one man managed to invade the track in spite of these measures. "Oh my goodness me," exclaimed ITV's lead Formula One commentator James Allen, struggling to comprehend the sheer craziness unfolding before his eyes. "We've got a lunatic on the track." It was the 2003 British Grand Prix, and just 10 laps into the race, chaos erupted as a deranged Irish priest named Neil Horan sprinted up the fiercely quick Hangar Straight. Wearing a kilt, green waistcoat and hat, Horan carried a banner proclaiming, "Read the Bible. The Bible is always right." Many drivers had to take quick action to avoid him, and astonishingly, at least 13 cars whizzed past Horan, some barely missing him as they sped by. Amidst the chaos, brave Marshal Stephen Green rushed onto the track, fearlessly confronting Horan. With a swift move, Green tackled the intruder to the floor and then heroically dragged him away from harm's way. The safety car was quickly deployed, significantly altering the race's dynamics, ultimately leading to Rubens Barrichello's victory for Ferrari. An even more horrifying incident took place during the 2010 Grand Prix, when Toro Rosso driver Sebastian Buemi found both wheels dramatically flying off his car. The first day of practice is meant to be a gentle introduction to the circuit, getting the cars set up properly for the showdown. But during the first practice in Shanghai, Buemi experienced a day far from the norm. As he approached turn 14 at a blazing 180 miles per hour, disaster struck when both wheels flew off his car under braking, sending him careening into the barriers and into a wild sleigh ride through the gravel trap. Toro Rosso was experimenting with a new suspension component, which, as it turned out, was not the resounding success they had hoped for. What makes this scene truly extraordinary is that the car lost both of its front wheels without any contact with another car, wall, or any substantial obstruction. It was a bizarre and rare sight, even in the world of Formula One. Despite the dire situation, Buemi showed incredible determination, attempting to steer his car down the road, seemingly unaware that the front wheels were no longer there and had ended up about 100 yards away. Thankfully, the Toro Rosso wreck only lightly kissed the barriers before coming to a rest in the gravel trap. Although luck was not so favourable to Australian driver Alex Peroni at Monza when the Australian Formula 3 driver experienced a terrifying accident that left viewers in shock. As he approached the Parabolica corner at 150 miles per hour, Peroni ran wide and made contact with one of the curbs, launching his car into the air like a rocket. The car spun wildly through the sky before landing upside down on the catch fencing outside the corner. Miraculously, it appeared that Peroni's car landed on the Halo cockpit protection device, which had been made mandatory in all FIA championships since the beginning of 2018. Despite the intensity of the crash, Peroni managed to walk to the medical car with his own strength. The 19-year-old Australian driver was later diagnosed with a fractured vertebra as a result of the crash. He was taken to the hospital and the F3 race concluded under the safety car to ensure the safety of the driver. In case you thought that a vertebrae break was enough to keep him away, let me tell you, he's still tearing up those F1 tracks like a boss. Keep watching till the end for an adrenaline-pumping ride through some of the craziest moments ever witnessed in Formula One. Another similar incident happened at the Grand Prix of Europe in Valencia. Despite being a two-time winner for Red Bull that season, Mark Webber had been having a bad race to begin with, since he had slipped from second place to 9th during the opening lap itself. But nobody could have guessed how much worse this was going to get. The Australian driver was on the hunt for a gap, desperately seeking some clear track to unleash his car's full potential and recover lost positions in the race. As he attempted an overtake at the fastest part of the circuit, fate had other plans. Heikki Kovalainen, driving for Lotus, suddenly hit the brakes. Webber's front right tyre caught the rear of Kovalainen's car, and Webber's car went flying through the air. The car's somersault ended with the car landing on its nose before bouncing and crashing into the tyre barrier. Thankfully, Webber didn't have any serious injuries, although the car was totaled. If you think that was brutal, your mind will be blown by the jaw-dropping chaos that unfolded at the 2021 Hungarian Grand Prix, leaving 1/4 of the field eliminated and the race red-flagged. As the race began on a wet circuit, 19 drivers cautiously set off on intermediate tires with one exception, Antonio Giovinazzi, who opted for slicks after a pit stop on the formation lap. Mercedes-AMG driver Lewis Hamilton led the charge from pole position, but his teammate, Valtteri Bottas, encountered a tricky start and lost ground to the Red Bull drivers Verstappen and Perez and the impressive Lando Norris, who started from 6th place. Unfortunately, Bottas couldn't avoid a collision with Norris at the first corner, setting off a domino effect of chaos. Bottas collided with Norris, sending the McLaren into Max Verstappen, while Bottas also ricocheted into Sergio Perez's Red Bull, causing 4 cars to collide in one instant. The mayhem didn't end there. Aston driver Lance Stroll, arriving too quickly at the corner, found himself on the grass, but couldn't avoid Charles Leclerc's Ferrari, which then crashed into Ricciardo's McLaren, leading to yet another collision. Because of this, the race was obviously red-flagged, and when the race finally restarted, Esteban Ocon ended up winning his first F1 race. Now let me tell you an instance from 1993 which set off an intense rivalry. In a jaw-dropping moment at the 1993 Italian Grand Prix, Minardi drivers Pierluigi Martini and Christian Fittipaldi put on a stunning display as they crossed the finish line in 7th and 8th positions, respectively. However, Fittipaldi's finish was anything but conventional. Fittipaldi and Martini were running quite close to one another, and Fittipaldi attempted to overtake Martini, which set off a disaster. Instead of a simple touch and go, Fittipaldi's car executed a spectacular backflip after making contact with the right rear wheel of his teammate's car, Pierluigi Martini, at a heart-pounding speed of 195 mph. Despite the thrilling acrobatics, both Minardi drivers managed to complete the race, solidifying their spots in the top 8. Yes, the car still somehow dragged past the finishing line when it finally landed after a 360 flip. Although neither of the drivers were hurt, this incident soured the hearts of the teammates. Fittipaldi was enraged at Martini, and even 22 years later, his anger had not subsided. In an interview with motorsport.com, Fittipaldi said, "I was so glad to be alive. I won't waste time in my life to argue with a fool like him. For me, he was dirty, an imbecile. From that day, I never talked to him again. I have nothing against him, but for me, him and a trash can on the street is the same thing." To this day, Christian and Pierluigi have different sets of stories to tell about that incident. That's all for this video. Comment below and tell us about the moment you consider to be the most unforgettable.